born September 27th, 1930. Will was born in Bismarck, St. A's Hospital. Okay. But we lived on the farm south of Napoleon. Okay. I lived on that family farm until I got married in September 27th, 1949. It was about 7 miles south of Napoleon. My parents moved to Napoleon, and then my brother Willie and Willie lived on there until he got married. Anton and Magdalena, they built that farm. Jacob Piaz and Magdalena Schumacher. Mom was born, lived around the Sealand area. She was the daughter of John Schumacher, and Julia Geoffrey was her name. Grandpa lived south of Napoleon, about 10-15 miles south, close to the St. Anthony Church was right there. Anton, Magdalena, Mary, Julia, myself, Rose, Caroline, and then James and Andy. Anton and Mike passed away when he was 56 years old. James passed away when he was 11. Caroline passed away 2 years ago. Because those days we worked with horses, and we had to milk cows and clean barns and make hay and help with the headering and shock the bales when they baled, and helped thrashing when they had a thrashing machine. We had to haul bundles and help thrash, make hay. It's in Anthony's Church, about 10-15 miles south of Napoleon. So about second grade, yeah. And we had religion during the summer. There was some nuns that came for 2 weeks, religion, before we made our first Holy Communion. They bought the dress and the veil, and then we get a candle and a prayer book and a rosary. There wasn't much fun to be done. We had to work. Well, like we went to 4th of July in Cornshire, we'd always go to town. That was a big day for us. They had carnival outfits, stuff like that, yeah. And races. And the house I grew up in. And that was a tree. That was one of our trees, my home place. Well, that was on our house, my home, where I grew up. My folks' house. I think he was born at home in the house, and yeah. And his birthday is September 27th. Only he was born in 1925. They keep him warm, but I guess they laid him by the oven or something to keep him warm. He weighed only about 3 pounds. Oh, he started high school, and he was going to quit more than once. I don't know how far he went, but his parents didn't let him quit. Until one fall, he had to help thrash, and he got so late in this season, and then finally they let him quit anyway.
Okay.
I went to school to 8th grade. We had only 7 months of school. We were done in about the end of March with school already, because we had 7 months of school. My best subject was arithmetic, which they call math nowadays. Well, we'd play, in the wintertime when there's snow, we'd play fox and goose and play baseball sometimes. Well, they used to live on a farm close to where we lived. He went to start a school at Starkey School where I went to school, but I didn't get to school at that time. No. And then he moved on a farm over by Bernstead, and that's where they stayed until his parents lived there, and then His parents moved to town and he lived on the farm. About 2.5 miles, and we walked many a time across pastures and crawl fences. And then when he moved to Burnstead School, that's about 1/2 mile to Burnstead on the family farm. They raised cattle and milk cows and had cropland. I met him at Julia and John Horner's wedding. I was about 18. I was 19 the day we got married on September 27th, 1949. Eugene had birthday and I had birthday and we got married on that day. We went to Bismarck to buy a wedding dress, both Eugene's parents and my parents, and Eugene and I. I tried to dress on that day and we bought it, and I think he probably got a suit too that day. Flowers, Mom bought flowers and I put the bouquet together myself. Wedding cake, we baked like 2-inch fruit cakes and put them on top of each other and frosted it. That was our wedding cake. They put a top to put on top of it. Sure, we got married like 10 o'clock in the morning, and then you had dinner. And then after that we went to Linton to have our wedding picture taken until we come back. My best man's wife, Uncle Frank was my best man, and his wife, Aunt Rose, had a heart attack, and they were on the way to Bismarck with her, and she passed out on the way home, way to Bismarck. Then we didn't dance no more after we got home. They just opened the gifts, and then. My wedding attendants was Julia. My sister Julia was my bridesmaid, and Eugene's was, and my best man was Uncle Frank Piotz, and Eugene's best man was Andy Spurley. He was his confirmation sponsor. And Uncle Frank was my godfather. Those days. And Andy was my ring bearer, and Alice Becker Regner now was the flower girl. Okay. Eugene's grandparents was Helen and Joe Bitts. That was his step-grandpa. And Julia and John Schumacher were my grandparents. His grandfather passed away when his dad was quite young. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know how old he was, but they were quite young when their real dad passed away. And then Grandma Bitts got married to Joe Bitts. I had it dry cleaned and had it upstairs, and the kids got into it and dressed up with it, and found it was so dirty, maybe tore and everything, and I burned it. Okay, I went to Bismarck and I stayed at some friend's house for a few days till I had to go to the hospital. And then Eugene come up the night before and took me to the hospital, and we were there. Then he wasn't there when Debbie was born no more. He went home with the train the next day. He came up with the train. And then he went back the next day, and then she was born. When I come home with his dad come up, and he went home with me on the train to Napoleon. And I stayed at Grandma and Grandpa Horner's for a few days. And then I went with the train to Burnstead and stayed by Julia and John Horner. They lived in the town of Burnstead at the time. And then you had a road open through the field. He had hired somebody to move the snow, and I went home. That must have gone home with the sled. May 26, 1953. His first Holy Communion picture in Burnstead. He made his first Holy Communion in Burnstead. Judy was born August 8, 1954. Debbie, Donnie, and Judy. Those dresses I sewed, Debbie and Judy's. We had to cook with the kerosene stove, and then we had a sink where to carry the water in, and we piped it out to the side of the hall, down the hill a little bit. And where they carried the water in and heated up, whatever hot water we used had to be heated on the stove. And that's how we had to put the heated water for the washing machine and everything. A kitchen in the dining area, which we made that into a bedroom after the twins come along. Paul and Paulette, they were born in Lenton Hospital. One weighed 6 pounds and some ounce, and the other one 7 pounds and a few ounces. Well, Yuchi took me over to the hospital, and I was in for a while, so he went home. And he wasn't there when they were born. And then the next morning I called over to Ben Brown's, and he went out and told Yuchi they had twins, and he gave them names, and he didn't want to believe them. Oh, I baked them birthday cakes with the sticky frosting on it, which they all wanted. And Brenda and Glenda were born October 26, 1959. Those I knew I'd be twins. 2 cribs lived out together. There was 2 babies in each crib. We went to church with them, and we get into church. I could help take care of the babies. Sometimes I didn't even have any in church. She was born in September 5th. Oh, we bought fabric from them. They had a family clothing store where I bought most of it. Where else we'd get to? Linton had a nice shopping town. Penny store where we'd go a lot. Or before school started, many a time we'd go to Linton to buy. He was born February 27. He died on March 6th. He passed away when he was 10 days old. Nothing wrong when they brought him home, and he wouldn't eat no more. Took him to the hospital and never made it no more. And Connie was born December 4th, 1964. Rhonda was born in December 17th, 1966. And she was the baby. That was the old house that when it was moved to the other side of Red Lake. Pete Kunz has built a new house for us. And, they painted everything, and of course I wasn't able to paint. Mrs. Kunz, Barbara Kunz painted and varnished and everything. This was, oh yeah, he made a snowman, and I want to take a picture of him, I guess. That one big blizzard we couldn't even get in the barn through the door. 66, it was a big blizzard. We had to go to the haymow to get into it. Yeah. Well, first we milked the cows, but no, Eugene had we milked by hand. And then we put a milking machine in. Got a big cake for everyone, I guess. And must have been a doll. I'd bake a cake, yeah. Sometimes 2 cakes a day, one for dinner and one for supper. They were gone. Baked my own bread and buns. And when the girls come home, I had fresh baked buns. Boy, they ate fresh baked buns. I watched my mom crochet. She just crocheted around dresser scarves and pillowcases. And that's how I learned. Gradually got into them all. Taught myself, then after that. I cooked at the Wishick Sales Barn Cafe for 17 years. And then I started, they asked me to help out at the Napoleon Sales Barn. So finally I was their full-time cook. Went in at about 8 in the morning until 5:30 next morning. The head cook had a baby when she had the baby. I was the head cook. But as soon as she came back, I quit. I said, that's the end. No more. Eugene died in May 11th, 2001. And Paulette died October 16, 2002. And they both died of cancer.